Hey everyone, so tonight we are going to be talking with the girlfriend of Antonio, who, if you watched our Ethan Boyd search video, the one that took place in Columbus/Phenix City, the Georgia, Alabama area search we did with Nug and Adam and Lamb, you heard the mother say several times on that video that she heard from the mother of Marie Pardon, that there was a story about the bridge, and this is a rare situation. I'll be honest with you, very rare situation where a suspect, someone who's named a suspect, at least in this case by the mother. I hear community gossip, maybe headed some gossip, maybe in that direction too. This is the first time we've had someone named as associated with a suspect or a suspect, a person of interest, I should say, willing to talk, willing to actually have an interview with us. So that's happening now. Marie wants to set the record straight. She wants to tell her side of the story. You know, we had Nicole on that video. We talked a lot to Nicole. Jen and I, our hearts go out to Nicole. I know Lamb feels the same way. Same with Nug and Adam. Nicole's suffering. Nicole's angry. She's frustrated. She just wants this to be over. She told me the other night in text, her heart just hurts. Her heart just hurts. She wants it to be over. And I know Nicole is probably hoping that some new information, or that Marie will be willing to share new information in this interview. Don't know if that's going to happen because Marie has said that she's told everything to the police in some of the chats we're having. So what we're going to learn tonight is the story from Marie's perspective, and we're really looking for information on what happened to Ethan on the day he disappeared. He took some kind of substance, walked out of the apartment. He was under the influence of something. He was shooting a gun, obviously. The police showed up. For whatever reason, they left him after he turned over the gun, threw the gun over to them, supposedly, and left. They left. A guy who said he was about to unalive himself, and that doesn't make any sense. That piece, the police piece, never made sense to me. Antonio was his roommate. What we heard when we were talking to various folks on that search, on that video, we heard that he's part of a gang, that potentially there's drugs involved. We don't know the details, and that he ended up in prison under there's murder charge. Now, I will say before she shows up here that everyone, including Antonio, is assumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That's the American way. And so even if he is guilty or charged with a different crime, he's not guilty of that crime until he's convicted of it. He's definitely not guilty of any allegations related to Ethan until he's convicted in a court of law. So we need to make that completely clear, even though we may talk a lot about Antonio tonight. Anne Marie as well. There's, accusations that she was potentially an accomplice. And so Marie as well, assumed innocent always until confirmed guilty in a court of law, or evidence, overwhelming evidence, proving that they're guilty. The police maybe don't have, that there are no charges. That's not the case here. So we have to make that assumption. Okay. So when we talk to Marie, we are going on the assumption she is innocent of being an accomplice or anything. We have to go on the assumption that Antonio is innocent. There's obviously a lot of information, a lot of questions, a lot of suspicion, a lot of very weird circumstances, and we have this rare opportunity to talk to someone who had witnessed some of these things. And so she'll be here in a few minutes. Definitely excited to have a chat with Marie Perdon. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'll ask her when she joins us. But I'm excited about this. I think we're going to learn a lot of information, hopefully information that helps us understand the details behind this very complicated case. Hey everyone, before we start this interview, I just wanted to mention that it's very important for the algorithm to help this channel. We appreciate all of you who follow and subscribe, and all of the members of this channel for supporting the work we do for the community and everything we do. At the same time, It's always good to get our work and our message out to a wider audience. And what can always help with that is simply liking the video, just letting YouTube know that, a lot of people who are watching this like it. And also, if you're new here, if this is first time seeing this channel and our content, take a look around, see our other videos. And if you don't mind, click the subscribe button. It helps a great deal, and we really appreciate it. This is the I'll tell you, this is the first time all the cases we've covered of missing people, and we've covered a good amount. I've gone, especially locally here in Tennessee. There's been
Mhm.
a lot of cases we cover, and we have never had someone who the community or anyone has been saying, "Oh, they're involved," or someone they know is involved has actually reached out to talk. So that's a huge first step. Like that's a first sign to me that there may be more to the story that we don't know that you can share with us. So I appreciate that. Just wanted to thank
Of
you for
course.
reaching out, being willing to
Of
talk.
course.
Gosh, there's so much to cover before we get into the details, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, okay, tell us what happened. But before we do that, I'd like to learn more about you. All I know about you right now, all I know is that you were or are Antonio's girlfriend when this all
Yes.
happened. Could you talk a little bit about, maybe we can start like how you first came to know Ethan?
I actually met him when I started back working at McDonald's
Okay.
because he was working there, and that's when our friendship started. And we would talk here and there, and then he came to the house because we live right up and down the street from each other. And he came to the house twice, and it was mostly just talking over the phone back and forth.
So you just got to be friends with him at work.
Yeah, it was mostly a work friend, and then he came over twice. That's the only time me and Ethan ever hung out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, were you with Antonio before that? Before you
No,
met Ethan?
no, I actually met Antonio through Ethan.
Is that right?
Yes.
So did you hang out with Ethan like at his apartment? Is that kind of how you met Antonio?
He actually brought Antonio to my house to go swimming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were roommates already before he met you.
Yeah, they were roommates before. I think
Okay.
from what I've heard from Antonio's sister is Ethan was living with him since he was about 16, 15, 16.
So they were good friends.
Yeah, they were really good friends.
Wow. Okay. How about how you when you met Antonio?
Mm.
Could you share whatever you know about, so right now all I know is the rumors, like what I've heard about Antonio, and I'll tell you what I'm picturing, and you're probably gonna laugh, but I'm picturing some dude who was in a gang, tattoos maybe, I don't know, it was involved in crime, like that type of guy. Am I
He
way off? Like what's the
Yeah, you're
story with?
very off. You're very. I mean, he does have he does have tattoos, but when I first met Antonio, we didn't really talk. It wasn't till maybe the second or third time I met him. It's when we really got to know each other, and
Okay.
he may look the part of to be a gang member, but he's by far from that. He's
Okay.
actually a really down to earth person, and he's really mature. So I was 19 when I met them. I'm 22 now, and he was 18, and he is very mature for his age. Like his vocabulary is very mature. I don't even know the
Yeah.
meanings of half the words he says.
And you said you met him at like while swimming somewhere. That's how you guys met.
Yeah, at my house. Ethan brought
Okay.
him to my house, and that's how I met Antonio.
Did he ask you out or did you ask him out?
I think it was. Okay, so it never became like a "will you be my girlfriend?" It just kind of happened,
Oh,
if that
okay.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes sense. How long before Ethan disappeared did you meet Antonio?
I met Antonio. I think it was like 2 weeks prior he went missing, and that's like the first time I ever met him.
Wow. 2 weeks. So this was 2022, right? I think.
Yes, and I actually met Ethan earlier that year. So I'm not going to say like his best friend, but I knew him, I would say pretty well just for the couple of months we spoke.
So you only had known Antonio for a couple weeks before Ethan disappeared.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think the biggest question is obviously what happened that day or that night and what you witnessed. So,
Yeah.
were you there before it all? started happening, when the gun thing happened and all that stuff blew up. Were you
No, I
there?
was no, I was not. I was at home, and the craziest thing is, I live right down the road from him, and I didn't hear any of it. But they also said it happened later in the night, so I could have been asleep. But I
Okay.
feel like it would have been like super major. I would have heard it, but for some reason I didn't. But I sleep really hard.
Yeah. Did was Antonio home at the time? Do you know?
He was not when that happened. His mother
Okay.
had actually come to pick him up,
Okay.
and they left. And I'm sure you know Antonio jumped out his mom's car, so he
Yeah.
ended up in the hospital the same night. And then that's when everything happened with Ethan. I don't know if it happened at the same time or but
I
Antonio
can't
was not there.
I heard he jumped out. I can't remember the details, unfortunately. Why he jumped out. Was he on the same kind of stuff that Ethan had
To my
taken or
knowledge, he might have been, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think for him to jump out the car, possibly yes.
he was on something? Do you know? Okay, so after it happened, you were still dating him, obviously, right? You guys were still
We actually
together.
we actually did not get together until months later. I think it was like maybe October is when we actually made it like official.
After Ethan disappeared.
Yeah, yeah, because I think
Okay.
Ethan went to see him what June, correct? Yeah, June
Okay.
23rd.
Okay, so you hung out a lot with Antonio after that all happened.
Yes, because then we started like actually really getting to know each other. It was a lot of mostly him talking about his brother and having to comfort him because of how hurt he was.
Okay.
It actually
Did,
broke my heart to see him so hurt.
heard about Ethan
Yeah,
disappearing? Okay. Does Antonio know how Ethan came across whatever he was under the influence of? Does he know how Ethan got that?
I'm sure he does, but that's something he never really discussed with me. And I
When you
never
guys
really
talked when you guys talked about the case, he never mentioned that detail, like the drugs piece of
no,
it.
no, he didn't. Probably because he maybe didn't want me to know about that part of it, or maybe he didn't know the person fully. I'm not sure.
The person who
That
had
sold
given
it
them
to
the
him.
drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. So, kind of leads me to the next question. As far as you're aware, is he involved in gang activity?
No, he's by far not. He's a really sweet, humble guy.
If he wouldn't, so my next question, I'm just kind of going logically in order. Like this is, I'm unscripted. Like I have no questions for you, but as you answering it helps me think through the logic of
Of
what
your
happened.
questions,
Yeah. So my next question now is, if he didn't tell you about the drugs, do you think he's keeping the fact that he's involved in a gang from you as well? Is that possible?
no. For me, knowing Antonio and how well I know him, no, it's not possible.
Okay.
Yeah, because once we really started to get to know each other, we were with each other 24/7, basically.
Um, and so you're, as far as you know, he has no idea what happened to Ethan.
He does not, because like I said, we were with each other a lot, and when he got out of the hospital, I was on video call with him every night.
Okay.
But he's still heartbroken about it.
So I'm gonna ask you an open-ended question then. I think this will help a lot because it sounds like you've at least talked a little bit or quite a bit about this, what happened with Antonio, and he's told you some. Sounds like he maybe hasn't talked about the drug side of it. What's your opinion based on everything he's told you? If you start from whatever they were doing in that apartment, however Ethan got under the influence, what do you think happened based on everything Antonio has told you?
So, to my knowledge, what I heard, this is just what I've heard. A neighbor went through their house to like show them their new gun, and ended up strobing them with the strobe light on the gun. And I guess that's possibly what could have caused a bad trigger and ended up making them go crazy. I'm not too sure how to word it. That's like the best way I can word it.
Did they both snap a little bit? Did Antonio actually snap too?
I'm not.
Psychologically, kind of.
I would say with him jumping out the car, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe a little bit, because he ended up getting like severe bad road rash all down his back, and he couldn't even get off the couch. It was bad.
So he was there at least when the gun was handed, or when that strobe thing happened. there was a gun there and the strobe thing happened, right?
Yeah, he was there when he got strobed, and I guess he ended up. I'm not too sure how long it was for him to call his mom and ask him to come pick him up, and then after that is when I'm guessing Ethan went crazy, and that's when everything happened.
Did he describe to you between when the strobe thing happened and when he left? Did he tell you anything about how Ethan was behaving or anything he did?
No, he did not. Not that I can recall. I don't want to say something and be a lie to you, so I'm gonna just say not that I can recall because he might have, but I don't
Okay.
remember.
Okay. So it sounds like Antonio hasn't told you a whole lot about what he knows happened or what he saw or the drugs, or he's kind of
Yeah, because they were so under the influence, he probably doesn't remember much of that night.
doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into I know, so I can sometimes I imagine if people are hearing you talk and your answers, what they would be thinking next. And the first thing that came to my head is what they heard from the mother and what Lamb actually informed us about when we were searching with him
Mhm.
was that Antonio, after this all happened, are you still with Antonio, by the way? Are you still kind of
Yes.
considered a couple? Okay. After that all happened, apparently there's a murder charge.
Yeah, that
Have you?
happened, and so I can give you a very in-depth detail of that because I remember it all like it was yesterday because it still plays in my mind as a maybe a PTSD factor because I'm
Okay.
still shooken up about it. So I was 4 months pregnant at the time, and we went to this apartment complex to. We were trying to make money, and we went to this apartment complex, and we ended up getting. Well, we didn't get robbed. We almost got robbed.
Yeah.
Three people surrounded the car basically, and one guy actually ended up opening my door and put a weapon to my stomach, and I was 4 months pregnant at the
Oh
time.
my gosh. Wow.
Yes. So that's basically how it happened.
Okay. So Marie, I think right now, like at this point, 26 minutes in, I'm gonna cut this because I want to ask you something really personal. Okay, because that to me was like a sign of it was there, the kind of gang slash drug stuff going on. But okay, that clears that up. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just there was nothing gang involved. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah. Why did so the let's get back to that story then.
Okay.
What got that person, that guy or woman or whoever was that pointed the gun at your stomach? What got them upset?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It was all at that point. It was all just like a blur.
The blur.
I don't know why they opened my door. I don't know why they got in my car. Any of that. It just happened
Okay.
way, way too fast.
Okay.
And it's to the point like if someone pulls up behind me at like I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, someone pulled up behind me at a stoplight. I guess they opened their door to just throw something out, and I panicked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, having a gun that in like a split second can end your life pointed at your child's life. I mean, I can't even imagine the fear that must have gone through you.
Yeah,
And that'll take
thankfully he's almost 2 now.
yeah. So Antonio ended up shooting the guy. Is that how it happened?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's the first murder charge, which I'm
He's
assuming
only
he's
Yeah, he only has one. He's only has one murder charge, and
only one. Okay.
it's supposed to be enlisted as felony murder because of what like led up to that. But for some reason, they did not put it down as felony murder like they should have.
Just a charge. He hasn't had his trial yet, right?
No, he is not even. He's not indicted. Nothing.
Okay. Okay. So he could have a self defense deal,
Yes.
right? At some point, once the story gets told or whatever. People are going to think, why was he there? Why was he selling stuff? But then again, if a gun is pulled on his girlfriend and a gun's pointed at, is that pretty much when it happened, when he was threatening you?
Yes.
That's when he did what he did. Okay.
Yes, and
That,
the other two guys actually ended up shooting into my car, which I didn't know until days later. There was a bullet that barely missed the back of my neck, and it went through my headrest into my seatbelt area.
Holy cow! You were
Yes,
just threatened. You were shot at.
yes,
No
and
wonder
that's
you're.
another. And yeah, that's
Oh,
one thing that a lot of people don't know. You know.
yeah. A lot of people have never been shot in their lives.
Yeah, and it's still sadly in my car. I haven't been able to afford to paint it or fix it yet.
Oh my gosh.
Makes me really sad.
Yeah. Have you lived there your whole life?
Here with my she's technically my stepmom. I call her my mom, and my
Yeah.
dad. No, I lived with my aunt the majority of my life. And I
Okay.
ended up leaving their house at 17, and I went with my ex boyfriend at the time, and I ended up leaving him, and then came home here. And that was maybe in 2019, and I met Antonio 2022.
You're only 22.
Yes, I'm 20. I'm 22 currently. I'll be 23 at the end of the beginning of December.
I'm getting the impression you haven't had an easy life.
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Because that's why probably you moved around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're breaking my heart here. Like this is hard.
So sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
trying not to cry.
well, like I said, you're pretty much like a year or two away from my daughter's age, and they had a hard time too, but they had us. We were like a stable parents, and a lot of kids don't have stable parents, so which makes it even harder. I'm thinking to myself, like, I know a lot of times the reason a girl who's a woman who's 20 something years old sometimes gets in situations like that is they choose like dangerous guys sometimes, or a lifestyle that.
For me, knowing Antonio, I would say he is by far from dangerous. How I know him, he's a giant teddy bear, and he's actually really sweet. But a lot of people don't know him personally. I've never got the chance
Yeah,
to speak with him, and he's actually my dad thinks he's a comedian. Like my dad
really.
loves him. Yes,
Your dad loves him.
yes. They calls him his son-in-law.
So, and there was no second thing in prison. There was no second murder charge.
No, not at all.
Okay.
There's like a whole situation with that. A man ended up himself in jail, and I guess people are trying to spread that he was involved, but he's not at all involved.
When you say people, do you mean like people in the community are just making those
I'm
stories, spreading
assuming
the story?
so. I'm assuming
Okay.
so. 'Cause I'm not sure how y'all heard that because when I watched the second video, it kind of triggered me on the inside. It made me angry, and that's when I'm assuming Lambros said he messaged me,
Yeah.
and at the time I had no idea who he was. Hence why I didn't
Okay.
message him back. And then I ended up seeing his name in a YouTube video. I was like, let me see if he actually texted me, and he did. And I was like, let me
Yeah.
text him back.
Yeah, because Lamb he had heard that from somewhere. I can't remember where he said he heard it, but he heard that story that it was something happened in prison.
Yeah.
So okay, so it was it was I'm supposed to say unaliving, I guess, on YouTube, but whatever. This guy took his own life, and then
Yeah, because someone else from jail actually ended up emailing me about it, saying a man unalived himself. Let me say it like that for you too.
yeah,
In jail because I guess he was getting accused of other stuff too. And I used to send him pictures of his girlfriend and his baby because his girlfriend didn't have the money to put on there to send pictures, so I'll do it for him. And he ended up emailing me and letting me know that something crazy happened and all that. But they're all in separate dorms, if that makes sense. Oh,
when you say you're sending pictures, you mean to Antonio or to this other guy?
so the man that emailed me, his
Oh,
girlfriend, and would send pictures of her to me of her and her baby, and
okay.
I would send it to him because he didn't have the money to do it.
How do you know them?
I don't know them at all.
No,
Antonio
I mean
gave
this. Oh, Antonio did. Okay.
Antonio gave him my email. I don't know. He just ended up emailing me one day, and the girl ended up started sending me pictures. And I'm like, what? And I was like, okay, I guess, because I understand like he would want to see a picture of his child because I send pictures of my baby to Antonio all the time. So I try to have an understanding how it's like to not see your baby.
Okay. There's things disconnected. Like this is discombobulated thoughts. Like, I like logic. I like things that just connect one after the other. So if you told me, yeah, Antonio became friends with this guy who happened to be like some the boyfriend or husband of someone that you know, then obviously then you'd be sending pictures to her. But like, there's no connection.
I know
You
them.
still
I don't know them at all.
So why are you sending pictures to him? I don't get it. Like, can you help me
Oh,
make that
it's
make sense?
not of me. The pictures are not of me at all.
Yeah,
They're
okay,
of
but
his girlfriend.
his girlfriend. Why doesn't his girlfriend send pictures of herself?
So it costs money actually just to send
Okay.
a picture. And it's like 50 cents per picture. So I had a little.
So
My baby was younger, so I had a little bit of extra money at the time to be able to do that for them.
so Antonio was helping this guy out by
Yes.
saying, "Hey, my girlfriend can help you out. She can send the pictures for you because it
Yeah.
costs money." Okay, that's it. There you go. Okay,
I
that's
try
the
to be
logical
very
connect. Okay,
I try to be very helpful and understanding of other people's situations too.
that makes sense to me. That totally
I'm
makes
sorry,
sense.
I have really bad ADHD and I speak all.
Okay. No, it makes sense if you don't mind me just asking clarifying things like that connect the
Oh
things
no, that's
together.
that's completely fine because I'm
Okay.
all over the place and your questions help me figure it out too.
Yeah. This is a hard one. This is the one that hit me hard when I was talking to Nicole on the bridge, and I can't explain it, and I'm hoping you can help me understand why this would happen. But she got both. She got both the text messages, and she
Mhm.
got a recording, like a voice recording, of your mom saying things that you said happened on the bridge. Why would your mom say that? Was any of it true?
No, I actually have not spoken to my mother in years because her name's Rebecca Robertson. I have not spoken to her in years, so
You
I'm
haven't
not.
spoken to your mother in
No,
years.
no.
Is
There's a whole situation with that. She chose her boyfriend over being a mother, basically. So it
okay.
just ended our mother-daughter relationship.
So you haven't had a really good relationship with her for a long time anyway.
No,
Do you think she would be motivated to cause is that kind of what you're saying? She'd be motivated to probably cause trouble for you?
I really don't know. I guess she goes along with what she hears in the, just what she hears, she just kind of believes. And that's the one thing I try to let people know. Like, if you hear something from her, just go
Yeah.
back and ask the person that supposedly told her.
Is this a pattern with her?
Yes, it is a really bad pattern with her. She's very gullible, if that makes sense. She's a very gullible person.
Okay, so it's not like intentional or mean. She just believes
No,
everything that
yes.
okay. Her statement was that you told her. Like that was literally her statement that you told her.
That's crazy. Because last time I would say I had like a small conversation with her was when everything happened with Antonio and we had got back
Yeah.
from talking with the detectives, and then I gave her like a brief little run through, and that was maybe like a 4 or 5 minute phone call because my little brother called me a criminal and it offended me. So I was like, let me set things straight with her because she doesn't really know what's going on.
So wait, your little brother actually called you a criminal before you got a chance to talk to her.
Yes.
Which
So that's when I
which
messaged. Oh,
which
his
means
name.
he was hearing stories about you being involved somehow before you even talked to her. Is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
How in the world would that happen? Community
Um,
rumors or
I'm assuming so. When everything happened with Antonio, they ended up with me and Antonio. I guess we could say they brought in everybody that had a connection with us, being my mother, my dad, stepmom, my aunts, everything, and tried to, I guess, figure out who I am as a person. And then that's when I went to talk to them, and they really got a feel of who I am, which is why I wanted to talk to you, so you can understand who I am as a person.
who's they that you were talking about just now?
The police,
Oh, they were
like,
trying to figure that out
yeah, they were trying to
when it
figure out.
all happened. Okay.
Yes. So that's when they called in everybody that was related to me, talked to me, all of that.
So after that happened with Ethan, I mean, you were interviewed. You were grilled by police pretty
I
much.
was interviewed multiple times actually. And I've been to
Wow.
the police department. I don't know how many times I've talked to Silva, maybe once or twice. But other than that, it's always been a different police officer that would show up at the house. And I'm like, you can walk in my house if you want to, because they thought I was hiding him out at one point. And I was like, please just come in and search.
They actually suspected that you guys were like
Hiding him.
hiding him.
Yeah, I was like, I have a little. At the time, I was not pregnant or had a child at the time when he first went missing, and I have a little sister with autism in here. And I was like, we didn't want any of that here.
Yeah.
Basically, we try to keep it very chill, very welcoming here. But hiding a fugitive at the time, because he was a fugitive at the time, we were not going to hide him here.
Who is fugitive after the
Yeah,
warrant
but
3 days after he disappeared.
I hate calling him a fugitive, but
Yeah,
that's what they labeled him as, and it sucks.
yeah. Now, it was that accurate. So that's the first. What really blew us away when we heard the story was the crazy thing happened with whatever he was under the influence of. However, he got that. Sounds like you can't help us figure out how he got those drugs or whatever. But he had the shooting. The cop showed up, threw the gun to the cop, ran inside. Correct me if I'm incorrect in any of the timeline. He told the cops, "I'm gonna if you come in, I'm gonna unalive myself."
Yeah,
And then they're like, "Okay, well, see you in the morning," and they take off.
yeah. I heard they were there from Antonio. The neighbors told Antonio, because he wasn't at home, so the neighbors were obviously there, and they said they were there up until maybe 3 or 4 in the morning, and then left.
So the cops at least stayed until about 3 in the morning.
Yes, and then that's just what I don't know how long they actually stayed, but that's just what I've been told. And then they just left, which I don't think they should have left at all. I think they should have let him come down off of what he was on.
Yeah,
and then went to retry and talk to him.
And then supposedly they returned the next morning, I guess, around 3 hours later or something like that.
Yeah, because the next morning I always have to go to the gas station and get my dad his Dr. Pepper. He strictly only drinks fountain Dr. Peppers. Strictly.
Okay.
No. So I remember going to the gas station, the Marathon down the street, and there's a deer processing place right there next to where Ethan lives, and I seen just a white police car sitting there. And this was before I knew what happened. I didn't know until 2 days later.
Okay.
That he was missing.
And then it was like he went missing, and then 3 days later they put out a warrant, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and that's the part that always bothered me. Like he would. Yeah, like he would run away before he even knew there was a warrant. That doesn't.
Yeah, because the Columbus Police Department, they can print a warrant right at your front door.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Phenix City could possibly do the same thing.
They could, or even if they issued the warrant for what happened. I mean, he went missing first, right? So he's a missing person.
Yeah, he should have been missing first.
He's a missing person. That part makes no sense. Do you? Having had the cops talk to you over and over and over, and I guess you've probably seen more of Silva than anyone else in this case. You and Antonio.
I've actually only seen Silva twice. And I've seen just other investigators or detectives first. I remember being at work, and my aunt called my dad saying that the police were there looking for me and Ethan. So I drove home from work to speak to them. Like, I went, showed myself, and I was basically in tears when I found out what happened, because I didn't even know prior what happened.
And so multiple different detectives over time have interviewed you.
Yes, they've always came to the house. They've knocked on the door, asked for me. I would step out and speak.
Was Silva only toward the end then?
Yes, he came maybe a little less than a month ago. I would say that was maybe the second time I've seen him. I'm not sure. I can't recall if I've seen him before.
So over time, are you getting the impression like they're just handing off the case to different detectives over time or something?
I'm not sure. I think Silva has been the main one on the case the whole time.
Just sending other detectives out to do the interviews or something. Okay. That's kind of odd, but hey.
Yeah, so what's to Silva each time?
What so with all those interactions with the cops and them grilling you and thinking that you're hiding him in your house and
It's
all that
become
stuff.
exhausting.
What's your opinion of how that police department is handling the case?
I'm not too sure. I feel like they need to do a more thorough job
Yeah.
because I live here. I don't want to be like, oh, they suck, they this. I've never really had any other
Yeah.
interactions with them. I feel like they just need to really step up and do like a better job into trying to find Ethan or bring closure at least to his mother.
Yeah. Was there a point while they were interviewing, like at the beginning, it sounded like they suspected you guys, obviously. They thought you were hiding him. Was there some point during the investigation where you felt like, okay, they don't suspect us anymore at this point because they've tried so many times? Like, or do you think they still suspect you guys right now as of today?
I know. Well, when I went and spoke to the police department, they straight up told me that they do not suspect me at all. That they don't at all. And I was like, okay, cool. I said, and I tried to ask who they may suspect, but they really don't know because supposedly the bridge, it has plenty of cameras, and every
Yeah.
lamp down there also has cameras. So I feel like if maybe he was potentially thrown off the bridge, they should be able to go back and look on any of the cameras they have down there.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to do that for sure.
Well, the thing is, too, with that story is that if you're telling me that you never told anyone that story about the bridge, that's the only place I know it came from. Allegedly, it came from you. So if you're saying, "Yeah, I never told that story," and
Yeah, never.
then the bridge isn't even a thing, right?
Yeah, so Ethan is maybe 6 foot, 6 foot two. He's a pretty tall man. I know he is very much taller than me and
Yeah.
more. I can barely pick up my baby, let alone Ethan. And my baby's
Yeah.
only 30 pounds.
How strong is Antonio?
He couldn't really pick me up.
Okay.
He can't really pick me up. I hate to say this about myself. I'm only 100 and maybe 60 pounds,
Okay.
and he couldn't really pick me up.
Okay.
And it made me feel bad about myself, but it's fine. I'm slowly getting over it.
No, that's not heavy. But you're saying he isn't the type of guy that's going to pick up a 6 foot tall, even with your help.
Yeah,
But
no.
so
It's
now
hard
I'm
to-
wondering where does your suspicion of the bridge come from? Because it sounds like you do think the bridge is important. You just said that, right?
Well, I just wanted to just bring it to light that me personally, I have no idea. I just know I was watching your videos, and it was more of the comments about Antonio that really made me upset. And
Yeah.
then the second video, the comment about me, or like just the comments in general, just genuinely made me really upset. And then after the first video came, I started getting messages, and
Oh
it
no.
just got at hand. Yes.
Yeah, I will tell you. So when I eventually figured out that it was you that put in the privacy thing on the video because at
Yes.
first I thought it was the police. I'm like,
No,
do they
it
want
was
to?
me.
Yeah, I'm like, do they want to cover it up? Like, what's going on here? So I went to the timestamps and I'm like, is it where Silva started talking? And then as I'm working through it, I'm like, oh, it's where she mentioned your name. And so
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay. Which
Yeah, I
to
started
me,
getting messages.
yeah, and to me that's fair because honestly, I never talked to you, never asked you for permission for her to include your name in the videos. So, and it didn't add a whole. We were telling Ethan's story, and you didn't really have to be mentioned, so I didn't mind, removing that section. It seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Um,
I like your work. I started watching more of your videos, honestly, after that one. And I
Thank
like
you.
what you do. I really do like what you do.
Uh, we're trying really hard to not be like a typical YouTuber that just likes to create drama and throw people under the bus. And that's why when you reached out, I'm like, well, I really want to understand where you're coming from, who Antonio is. Drama's popular, but if it's not true, then like you're destroying someone's life who potentially is completely innocent, has children. I'm assuming now you have a child, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know why anybody would want to do that anyway. But at the same time, Marie, like Nicole, I'll be honest with you. Nicole told me before this interview, she said, look, My heart's just hurting. I want this to be over. Tell her tell her if she'll just tell you anything, where to find him, where he might be, where he is. Like, I won't even report anything to the police. Nobody has to know who told us. We'll just go get him and bring him home to his mom. And to me, that to me is like the a mother's heart like dying because she just wants answers. She doesn't care about people getting in trouble. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it that broke my heart. That broke
I
my heart.
understand. Because I personally don't know how it would be like to lose my child.
Yeah.
So I try to understand where she comes from, but it just got to the point where I feel like she was only trying to blame me and Antonio, which is where my anger started coming in. But I never
Mm.
tried to really bash her.
Yeah. I I respect that too, because I mean, obviously, your first reaction would be, "I'm going to go after that woman and say back things she said." And you're very mature. Like I can tell already, even at 22, you said,
Yes.
yeah, you're you're super mature, and to be able to do that, it says a lot about you. Which again goes back to, I have a feeling you've had a harder life than a lot of people, and you probably had to grow up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But with
But
Ethan, the main thing he used to say, and I kind of take this funny, but it could also be true. He used to say he wants to go to Hawaii and sit on coconut and sip on coconuts.
is that what
And
he said?
yeah, and I started thinking maybe he's sitting on the beach right now, watching everything unfold and just drinking a coconut. And that's really, if I knew where he was, trust me, I would have brought him to light. I've
Yeah.
messaged him on Snapchat. Like, this is the main thing I told detectives or investigator Silva. He, I'm hoping it was him. He used to open up my messages on Snapchat because you can see when the messages open or deliver to
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
up until November of last year.
Even after he went missing.
Yes. Even after November of last year was the last time a message on his Snapchat opened, and after that, it's just been delivered. Because I message constantly. And I'm assuming maybe when I started messaging more often, it may have scared him.
So you
Yeah.
actually you noticed he was reading your messages and
Yes.
he wouldn't respond.
He would not respond.
And you've told this to police already, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was active. If this is true, then he was active up until November of 2024.
Yeah. And his phone, I don't think I'm not sure if he was paying his own phone bill, but it didn't turn off until last year, early last year or late 2023. I can't remember. I'll have to find a screenshot and I can send it to you whenever I do find it.
I wish we had started with this because you're blowing my mind right now.
I'm so
Like,
sorry. I'm
no,
so
think
sorry.
because I think I mentioned this earlier. I think very my mind is almost like I'm annoying because I'm very focused. I hyper focus. Like you said, you have a little bit of ADHD. Like your mind is
Everywhere,
it goes
yes.
off everywhere. I have the opposite type of ADD or whatever they call it, where I hyper focus
You
on
hyper
one thing. Oh my gosh. And I will be up until 3 o'clock in the morning just doing one thing and I lose track of time. And now you've got me hyper focused on this because if he was opening his Snapchat or the messages, he was actually looking at it. That means his phone was active. His
Yeah,
cell phone, his cell phone was active.
yeah. So Snapchat can be used just on Wi-Fi. So maybe
Okay.
he would just go somewhere and be on Wi-Fi. And this is just some things I've heard. I
Yeah.
don't know how true they are. I heard he was at Zaxby's like early last year. It was still a year ago, but I've just heard. I don't know how true it is because I've never went to go see, except for one time in my heart. I feel like it was Ethan that I made eye contact with.
Where was that?
It was on the railroad, right down the road, basically where he used to live. Because
Okay.
there's a railroad track that runs back behind there. And if you're going to Walmart from our house, because he lives that way, about a minute that way. And if we go this way, sorry, I'm using my hands, but if we go this way
Yep.
and take the first left, there's a railroad track. And I was coming home from Walmart, and This person was fairly tall, about Ethan's height, fairly tall, and he has very light green eyes. You can
Okay.
notice him in the crowd. And I don't know why I didn't stop. I was like in the middle of like driving. There was a car behind me. I didn't want to slam on my brakes. And he stopped in his tracks, and I just had a moment. We were just staring at each other for maybe like a split 2 seconds, but it felt like forever. And after that, I never saw the person again.
And I will say right off the bat, I can hear Nicole in my head probably screaming because she's so against the idea, 100% against the idea that he is like living homeless. Because I know when Silva mentioned that in the police department, she was
Well,
about to go off from there.
he looked very, from what he was wearing a, I know she always mentions his tattoos. He
Do
was
you
wearing
know? Do you know all the tattoos he had? Like you were friends with him, so do you know
my
what
favorite
all of?
one. Yeah, my favorite one was specifically the one on his neck. It was a
Okay,
UFO, but it looked like a mushroom, and it was just funny to me. But he was wearing a mask that covered, like one of those ski masks, maybe, that
yeah,
covered like the neck and the head.
huh?
Yeah, and it was closer to wintertime, so he had a longer sleeve shirt on
So
too.
you just recognized him by his unique eyes.
Yeah, the nose.
Um,
What I seen was the nose and the eyes,
Okay.
and something in my heart told me it was him.
When was this specifically again?
Maybe very late 2022, early 2023, or
Gosh, so
it could be the opposite. It could be late 2023, early 2024.
let's get back to that because I want to get on the one thing that's really important is the do you know all the tattoos he had? Like for anybody looking for Ethan, one of the easiest ways to identify whether someone is actually who you're looking for, do you see
Yeah.
them? Unfortunately, a lot of times tattoos are still there. Like you can see them everywhere. Do you know all the tattoos he had?
I know a majority of them. I know the one on his neck, the
Okay, there's that.
UFO. He has his younger sister, I believe it is, Kayla, on his
Mhm.
arm. And there's like a whole bunch of, I'm assuming he tried to do lightning strikes down his arm, and they just look like bad lines
Tried to
on
do
his
it
arm.
himself, or somebody who just didn't know what they were doing.
Maybe someone didn't know what they were doing. It was
Okay.
terrible.
Okay, so
Um,
lightning strikes.
he has a angel holding, I believe it's a Draco, a type of gun, on one of his other arm with terrible looking clouds, and he has a spider on his knee and a
Okay.
couple of little silly things here and there that I can't remember off the top of my head.
So you knew him pretty well.
Yes,
Like you were good friends with Ethan.
yeah, we were from the couple of months we actually got to hang out, and since we worked together, we had the same shift. That was the main time we spent together, was mostly at work.
How would you describe his personality?
Hilarious. He was a very funny person, but there
Yeah.
was also times he was, I wouldn't say serious, but more mature than what you would see out of an 18-year-old. Like this, he was a person you'll probably see out of like like an older person, like 60s and up. That's how his personality was.
So he
Very,
was
very old school, like type of person,
like
or old
wise,
school
like
old. Yes,
he was a wise type of person. He
very.
So given that, can you think everything, all the conversations you had with Ethan when you were his friend, all the way up until this whole thing happened? Think of all the conversations you guys had, hanging out, everything. Is there anything he said or did at any point that would make you think, if assuming that person you saw that day in 2024, 3-ish, was him, and you guys made eye contact, and it's like, does anything come to mind for you? Anything he ever said that would make you think he would be like, I'm going to give up my life, leave everything, and start just living free, living homeless, living on the street? Anything at all?
No, honestly, no. I think it was just all like a last minute decision. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly,
Yeah. Because his neighbors, I know his neighbors in that news interview said something like seemed very responsible, hardworking,
Yeah,
seemed to have his stuff together, right?
yeah,
Like
he
he
was a
really
very
seemed
hard
to have his.
worker.
The hard thing for me is definitely a guy to imagine a guy like that who had his he was described by neighbors as having being a hard worker. You're describing him like he sounds like a guy I'd want to hang out with.
Oh, he
Wise, funny, like seemed like a great
was
guy
an
and
amazing person. He was a very, very awesome guy. And
yeah,
Antonio was a lot like him in a way, or still is. He
really.
still tries to bring light to situations.
What does Antonio say about this whole thing?
He is more heartbroken than anything. There's been nights, like literal nights in a row, I've had to sit there and just be his like shoulder to cry on because he had literal tears coming out of him, just wanting crying for his brother. Basically, he always called Ethan his brother.
He felt like he was his brother.
Yes, and they had a really, really close bond, from what I could see.
Yeah. So as far as he's concerned, after he had his own episode, so they both had kind of an episode at that day that this all happened, right?
Yes,
Their own. So he had taken off because of whatever he was experiencing. I don't know if I asked you, when did he get back to the apartment? Like Antonio at some point went back to the apartment, right?
he went looking with one of his friends. Like they were looking for Ethan, basically. And I believe one of his friends went and picked him up because he doesn't have a driver's license. He can't drive. He's a
Okay.
terrible driver. I tried to let him drive my car once. It was awful. So I'm assuming one of his friends went to pick him up and they went back to the apartment to, I guess, look around, but they never found anything.
So he heard, okay, I'm trying to, from Antonio's point of view, he took off. He was with his parents. I think you said his mom picked him up when he
Yeah,
jumped
his
out of the
mom.
car. And that, so that whole thing happened. Did he go to the hospital at some point?
He did.
He
He did.
did
He went, I believe he went that night.
that night. So Ethan was like, just we're gonna go with Antonio's story as the truth right now for this scenario. He's in the hospital for what he was going through with the stuff they took, and Ethan at that point apparently had taken off, like disappeared that night, walked out the door, disappeared. Nobody knows where he walked off to. Antonio gets out of the hospital, what, a day later, the next day or something?
Yeah, I believe it was the next day
The
because he
next
ended
day.
up having to be bedridden. I believe that's what they call it, where they just have to stay in bed
Okay.
because it was bad.
For overnight, just like one night.
He actually had to sit because when he was at his mom's house, he mostly stayed in bed, and this is disgusting, but he was literally sticking to the sheets and the couches.
Oh yeah,
That's how
yeah,
bad his back was.
yeah, yeah. The skin peeling
Yeah.
can just turn into a mess. Yeah. So he couldn't get out of. He couldn't get out and do anything for a few days. I'm assuming he was recovering.
No, he couldn't even wear a shirt
Holy
or
cow!
socks because his feet were really badly messed up too. So he couldn't even wear socks either.
Do you know when he found out that Ethan was actually missing and hadn't come back that night?
I believe it may have been, I'm not sure who told him he was missing. It might have been Nicole, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to say she did.
Mhm.
It might have been her, or it might have been another friend of theirs. I'm really not sure on that.
So he heard from someone else that Ethan never came back
Yes.
at some point. Do you know what his first reaction was? Did he tell you what his first reaction was? Like, did he think
He
of anywhere?
actually called me. Like it sounded like he was full blown tears, bawling, and he was like yelling, "My brother's gone. My brother's missing. I don't know where he's at." And that's when I found out he was missing. And I was at work at the time when I found out he was missing, and I ended up in tears.
From Antonio. You heard from Antonio that he was missing.
Yes.
Wow.
So I found out.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I mean, hearing that your roommate's gone, he's bedridden, can't do anything at the moment.
Yeah.
So, was there at some point, was he like, I got to go look? Like when he recovered, was it a week or week and a half when he,
I don't exactly know when he went to go look. I just know it was probably maybe within the week or the next week they started going to look when he was able to actually like get up and walk and put a shirt on.
Okay. Right when he recovered, he started just looking for Ethan
Yes.
and didn't see or hear anything at all.
No. And that was one of the most heartbreaking things for him.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, but how long after Ethan's disappearance did that shooting happen? Did the actual incident with you getting kind of the gun pointed at you and
That
everything?
happened in 2023, early 2023.
About half a year to a year later. I would,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And then, of course, then he's in prison. And of course, we're before our videos, before all the stuff came out, like this story actually started blowing up. Were there people talking, like accusing you or Ethan in the community before
Not
this?
that, not really that I know of. I guess it's just when Ethan's mother started maybe got understand where she's hurt, and maybe me and Antonio being the last people to speak to him or
Yeah,
whatever. I can understand where she's coming from,
yeah.
and I can see that. And I've tried to reassure her, but I've also probably not in the best way because I was upset as well. I've tried to just let her know I don't really know anything about where he's at, where he's gone.
Well, what she told me was that both you and Antonio wouldn't talk to her. Is that is that accurate, or have you tried to tell her like
I think she's
you?
messaged me before, and we had like a small conversation, but we've never actually like went into depth on speaking.
Okay, because I think she's probably going to hear more about your side of the story just from you and I talking than she's ever heard before. So
Yeah,
um, it might be a surprise to her. I think, although she is angry and she
I
like you said,
understand. I really understand she's angry. I try to
yeah,
understand more, but I've never been in her position
yeah,
to understand how she feels.
and that's very kind of you. Being Ethan's friend, I think he would appreciate that from you. You know, treating his mom that way, not like not like completely just going after her because I'm sure being accused of something that bad and that serious is hard for you. So
It really is, especially with me. Like I said, I have a baby here. I have my younger sister. She's now 14 with autism, and it's really just frightened me because I don't know if people are going to try to come to my house. There's actually been two people at our house within the past 2 weeks. One was looking in my window. I actually have video footage of them looking in my window at 4 in the morning, which was terrifying.
oh my gosh.
And I just opened the door and because we have dogs in the house, and I just let them out on them. And I believe it was last night, someone messed up the mirror on my dad's pickup truck. And the dogs, and my dog, one of our outside dogs, because we have 3 inside, 3 outside,
Wow.
um, they were going, like, barking obnoxiously. And I just peeked out the window. I didn't really see nothing. It was also pitch black outside. I was like, I'm not going outside right now. And
Yeah.
I guess one of the dogs jumped our brick wall. And next thing I know, I just hear her screaming, like in pain, screaming. So I don't know if someone was hitting her. I don't want to say someone was hitting her, but it was a scary sound she was making. But she's all right.
That's
She's
good.
okay. Yeah.
Do you think it's related? Do you think people are starting to be like, wow, these people are
Um,
involved and
it could be.
yeah.
I don't want to say yes for sure. I'm hoping it's not people thinking that I had something to do with it and they're just trying to come to the house and harm me. I'm really hoping it's not.
I hope people wouldn't make that assumption without evidence, without kind of some kind of proof. And I will
Yeah.
tell you too, I mean, part of what we do, part of what I do, I might come across as usually with people I interview like really nice and I try to be you know, I want your side of the story. Of course, I do double check everything. So obviously, I'm going to double check if there were two murder charges. I didn't actually research Antonio. I never took the time to actually look at his background. I probably should have. I'm
Yeah,
assuming if
you
I
can
do,
look into it.
I'm just gonna see one, right? I'll see one murder
Yeah, you're just gonna see
charge.
one murder charge and some other really obnoxious, crazy stuff. Him and 10 other people are actually accused of because of the person who themselves, and that's something you can look up and see.
Okay.
It's not something I really want to mention on here.
Were they charges or just accusations? This other stuff. I know you're
He's charged with it, but not
not
is
murder.
not indicted.
Not murder.
Yeah, he
Okay.
has one murder charge, which should be counted as felony murder, but they didn't do it correctly.
Okay.
And two other charges, which him and 10 others are accused of. But Antonio had zero probable cause from it, but they still charged him and all the other people as well with it.
Okay. Not anything related to any kind of attempted murder charge or anything in
No,
prison. It's just this other mess that
yeah,
we don't
some
need to get
other,
into. Okay.
yeah,
And no gang affiliations, no signs of gang affiliations in any way with Antonio.
no,
Okay. What
no.
about you?
Me, definitely not. I am a
You're not
very
a gang
big
sister at
homebody.
all?
No, I'm a very big homebody. I stay home.
Okay. Great for you for wanting to be a good mom and doing the
Yeah,
right thing. Okay.
I found my responsibility, and I want him to
Yeah.
have the best life he can.
I
Yeah,
have a feeling your maturity and your compassion toward Nicole, I have a feeling it comes from the fact that you're a mother now
yeah.
and you can probably imagine what she's going through. So,
Yeah, now being like where I am as a mother, I've
yeah,
started feeling more like not how she feels. I can never say I know how she feels because I
right.
don't. But the only thing I can do is try to understand.
If she reached out to you, would you be willing to just have
If
like if she's not so angry and she wants to talk to you, do you think you'd be willing to kind of have a conversation with her?
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely, I would like to just conversate with her, be able to really get to know each other, and I understand she's hurt. She's going to be hurt until she basically finds justice for her son. And I just want to be that person to let her know I'm here for you. No matter what drama we've had or whatever, I'm still going to be here to talk to. And that's how I
I
want to
have
be as a person.
that's amazing, and I have a feeling that I met her in person, and she's a firecracker, and I have a feeling that you've got a bit of fire behind you too, if you wanted to. Like I
Oh,
have a feeling,
definitely, especially when it comes to my son and
yeah,
my family.
I I have a feeling that the two of you, if you could actually communicate and talk about Ethan's situation, case, what you saw too, that's huge. What you witnessed with the Snapchat. I mean, that's a huge piece of it. That's a really important piece of information, and I have a feeling the two of you could actually probably make some amazing progress on understanding maybe what happened or what his thought process was. If you could just
I
sit down and
would,
maybe talk.
yeah, I mean, I would love to talk to her, even if she wants to meet me somewhere locally. I am willing to do that. 'Cause I feel like if we get to sit down and actually be next to each other and
Yeah,
feel each other's vibe, baby, it'll be better than just over the phone. Because anything over the phone, text message wise, can come off rude.
I think so too. It's really hard. Text messages are horrible
That's why when
for
I was
like,
texting Lambros,
yeah,
when I was texting him, I felt like I was coming off obnoxiously rude.
yeah, yeah. Text messages are hard.
And I
Um,
tried not to like come off rude, but it was like I was just saying everything on how I felt, and I
yep,
hope I didn't make him think I was mad at him. I mean, a tiny bit I was, but not
yeah.
fully.
I'll tell you. So my one gift I do have is reading people. I read people really well. If I can see them, if I can look them in the eye and I can talk to them, I have a feeling that you are. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting you were going to run circles around and try to like say things and like not tell the truth. I feel like you're telling the truth. I really do. I feel like
Yeah,
you were Ethan's friend. I feel like it makes you extremely sad what Ethan went through, where he is, wherever he is, and what Antonio is going through. Obviously, having protected you, and now he's in prison for that, isn't he?
he's still in. I guess you could say like county jail. He hasn't went
Okay,
what they call down the road to prison yet because he has not been to court at all. That's
right.
the worst part about it.
He hasn't. That's right. He's in a situation where he can't. He wasn't able to bail out.
He didn't even have a bond hearing. Everyone is entitled to a bond hearing, and it's now almost been 2 years, and he has not even been to court for a bond hearing.
2 years.
Yeah, May 5th or May 4th will be 2 years. He hasn't even spoken with an attorney since he went into jail, basically.
Is he from a if you don't mind me mind sharing? Is he from a poorer family? Like he doesn't have a whole lot of means.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say not necessarily like poor, but struggling. I said I'm struggling as well, so I can't really be mad at anybody for not being able to get him an attorney or anything because I can't do it either.
Yeah, but he should be provided an attorney if he can't afford one. That
Yeah,
is fair.
he has one. They just haven't reached. I think they reached out one time saying that they were excited to work with him or ready to work with him, and this was maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I that's weird. That's just weird. I mean, to me, if the story what you told is what happened, and someone put
If
a
you're,
gun
yeah.
to your child's basically a gun to your child. I mean, I know you're pregnant, but I mean, literally, they had a gun to the child, and if he was if he was reacting to that as is he the father? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask. Okay,
Oh yeah, he looks just like him.
if he was reacting to that and defending his family, then I don't call that murder. I call that self defense. Just me,
Yeah,
but
that's the same thing I asked the detective. I said, if you were in the same position, would you have protected your pregnant girl, or
yeah,
would you have just let something happen to your child and your pregnant girl? And
yeah.
I also feel very like there's a pain in me as well for the person's family as well. Like there's a Antonio also cried a couple times because I'm about to cry as well. He never wanted something like that to happen. And it
I
was
can't.
very hard trying to get back on our feet and like be like, this really happened. Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
I don't think anyone can imagine what it feels like to actually take someone's life, and then you have to process that and realize that you had to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
because at the end of the day, someone lost their child.
mm,
And it's very hard to talk about. I'm trying not to cry, but
yeah,
it gets hard.
which is again impressive because this person was putting a gun to your stomach and your child, yet you still feel that human connection to like a life was lost, right?
Yes.
Which is amazing. To me, I don't know if I'd have that reaction. Honestly, I don't know if I would be able to have that compassion if someone had done that to my wife. So it just
Yeah,
speaks
so
again.
he
It's
cried a couple of times, and it was like it was hard
yeah,
seeing him cry because he was the reason someone lost their child.
yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna make you suffer through this anymore. This is probably hard for you. But like I said, this interview, I didn't know what to expect. I went into this cold, not knowing what you were going to share and what the story would be. I thought maybe the bridge story came from you for real, and
So it
it
most
sounds like
definitely did not.
yeah,
That's like one of the most outrageous things with it coming from my biological mother at that. Sorry. With it coming from her, it's like you clearly don't know me enough. Being my biological mother, she should know who I am as a person.
yeah,
And being able to, I just can't believe she would say something like that about me. And then saying that I said it at that.
yeah,
And that's where, I guess that's like where the main anger came from towards Ethan's mom. Because like you believe something, but she doesn't know I did not tell my mother that. And I can
and
understand why she believed it.
and just to reiterate, I think I got the sense before that you said your mother had a hit has some kind of history of doing that, like telling things someone said to her that weren't true, or is there
Being very gullible. Being very gullible. Yeah.
gullible? And gullible to me means she heard
Yes.
that from someone.
Yeah, because I have honestly, I have no friends. I don't talk to anybody. I just like to stay home. I'm not a very big drama person. I hate it.
Yeah. If she didn't hear it from you, then she heard this story, allegedly something you said from someone else, and she believed it.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
more
Yeah.
likely.
Because 100% you never said anything at all remotely like that about any bridge or about Ethan or anything like that to her.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And I wish like one of them just would have maybe messaged me, preferably Ethan's mom, just to try and figure out if it was the truth or not. I feel
Yeah.
like only if you're willing, obviously, and she's willing, maybe we can all sit down together.
Yeah.
Plus, if you want to, from watching your video, I heard you're 6 hours away.
Yes.
So, and she's 2 hours away. So, if
Yeah.
we're all willing to just sit down and talk and get to know each other, I feel like that would be amazing.
That is usually amazing. That's how usually people who come together and do the most good and make the most difference, especially in a case like Ethan's. I mean, who better than his one of his best friends? Who better than his roommate, right? Who's, I
Yeah.
guess right now, I mean, I'm part of the problem. I allowed him to be villainized on my video. So I'm part of the problem, but I got to tell you, if he was Ethan's best friend and he was his roommate and you were Ethan's best friend, and of course his mother knows him better than anyone, I agree with you. Who better than to try to figure out where the hell Ethan is now? What happened to him, you know? I agree with
In
you.
my, yeah, in my heart, I'm really, really hoping he's alive and just being stubborn.
Yeah.
I really hope he'll just be like, just pop up one day and be like, hey guys.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to
I
have to beat him up.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, that's kind of
I'm
what,
really
yeah,
hoping so.
that's that's the dream. And maybe could be some miracle he's just decided like I've had enough and I want to I want to live free and on the street. Who knows?
I think there was one message I sent him on Snapchat. I basically cussed him out. I was
Really?
like, yes, I did. I was like, Ethan, I was like, I know you're sitting somewhere just watching everything unfold. Can you please just show up and show your face? But
Wow.
with like obvious added cuss words in there, I'm not going to say on YouTube.
Yeah. And what's crazy is he seemed to be reading it for a while. He seemed to be reading your messages.
Yes, I've still occasionally will send him a message and just be like, hey, I'm still thinking of you. And it just won't get open no more because I don't know if I frightened him. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I frightened him with the continuous, more often messages.
Yeah. Wow. I am so sorry, Mary. I mean, you literally lost someone you were close to. Someone your boyfriend sounds like he was like a brother to him. So I'm sorry you both, have had to suffer through that and also go through the something nobody has to usually deal with in their whole life, and the whole thing that happened with the attack and self-defense. So yeah, I do hope everyone can come together and actually work together for Ethan at some point.
I hope so too. I would really like to meet her in person. I really would. So then we could be able to just feel the vibe off of each other.
Yeah.
I feel like if she actually met me and got to actually speak to me and be around me, she would know I'm a very down to earth, true, and honest person.
I have met both of you virtually, but I feel like we've met, and I feel like the two of you would really like each other. You have a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
feel like I'm on
similarities.
FaceTime with like a really
Yeah.
good friend of mine right now.
I think you guys would get along. If you could get past this piece, I think that you guys could be a powerhouse, like trying to figure out what happened to Ethan together. So I hope that comes true. Really do.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope after, I'm assuming you're going to talk to her afterwards. I hope you can try and give her a more rundown of how you feel,
Yes. 100%.
of how I am as a person. I
Yeah.
tried to put that together correctly.
Yes. No, you did, and you definitely helped me understand where you're coming from and your situation and everything that happened. So, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And
Of course.
I know some of it was painful to go through, but I think it's worth it, especially for Nicole.
It is, especially for you to get like my reaction of how it affects me And like you actually got to see me speak on it versus a text message.
Yes.
Yes.
Much better. Yep. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna let you go. Do you have anything else you want to share before we call it good? This was a really good conversation, and I think we've covered everything. But if there's anything else you want to
As
say,
of currently, no, I do not. Maybe if I find out anything else, I will most definitely message you.
okay.
And if you ever want to do another video or anything, please just reach out because I'm here always and I'm always willing to speak.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I definitely should have. I actually didn't know how to get in touch with you, but I should have found out. And in the future, I'll definitely try to do a better job of that before letting any kind of accusations go out there. So, but I appreciate you being willing to talk and clear the air and make
Of
sure
course,
everybody knows who you really are and what this situation is all about. So
of
thank
course.
you so much.
I appreciate for I appreciate you for being willing to talk to me, basically, and actually want to figure out everything on my side of the street, basically.
Yes, just want the truth. That's all that matters, right? In the end.
Yes. Well,
Yep.
if anything, please just reach back out to me. I'm always willing to talk, etc., etc.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Marie. Thanks again. Have a great night.
You too. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.